So I think that was the initial part, really like one praying, is this what God's really calling us to do? And then really asking him and being agents of even inviting people into what he was leading us to do. So I think that was like step one, I would say.
He said, "You ever thought about church planning?" And I said, "No," and tried to change the subject. At the time, the church was looking at going to Raleigh, North Carolina, but I had said on a number of occasions I would never live in Florida because that state was muggy, hot, and had no seasons. And then it changed to Florida, and we still went.
Yes. So yes, we were part of the Aletheia here in Harrisonburg, and that is where the original team came out of. And so they asked us to be a part of it, and we agreed.
For my couple years involved in the earlier days, that was like looking forward with a bunch of question marks of like, where are we gonna go?
And then in 2012, heard about Gainesville, did a couple trips up with some of the team to check it out, and heard God's voice so clear while doing the dishes, of all things. You're moving to Gainesville. And I was like, what? You're moving to Gainesville. I was like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, it just happened very fast. Like one day we, had no idea how we were going to get to Gainesville. And then all of a sudden we have a date. He has a very nice job when we get there. And it all just kind of fell into place just within the matter of hours. And so it was very clear to us that, even though there were times when I certainly was like, gosh, is this the right decision? Because especially when I would tell people, we're moving to Gainesville to start a church, I'd get some funny looks. And sometimes I questioned, like, gosh, is this really what we're supposed to be doing? We have no jobs, we have no family, we have no reason to be doing this. And God made it very clear that he did have a reason for us to do it, and that he would work it out, and he did.
Yeah. Then once the ministry gets started, there are tons of moments where we can look back on it and see that God was working sovereignly through all of it.
I was blown away by the team's willingness to go where God called, and not where they wanted to go. It wasn't, hey, we love Gainesville, we want to be in Gainesville, let's go plant a church in Gainesville. It was, where is God going to use us? And we believe that that's Gainesville, but up until we moved, it was as if everyone was praying for it to not be Gainesville, not because people didn't want to go there, but just because they genuinely wanted to follow God's will for where the church ought to be.
We love Gainesville now.
I know. Now our family's like, aren't you moving back? I'm like, heck no.
To stand in a place where people are coming from all over the nation or the world even to be educated, and then to go out and likely influence the professional political landscape. And so to be there in that space at that crossroads, in Gainesville, and to have a direct impact to just young people in that transitionary period, let's say they were churched growing up, to tie them down during their college days and to feed them and let them be a part of a local body in a college town, or to the unchurched, to reach out to them through like evangelism and active mission to bring them into the fold,
At least for me, we started looking at it like a spiritual airport. So we had such an opportunity to meet people and impact people during their time at the college that they were going to. And then by God's grace, either they would stick around and continue to be a part of our community, or they'd be sent off elsewhere to be disciple makers, essentially, in the places that they were going. So I think that's one of the aspects that made Gainesville a very exciting place for us to be, because we saw that happening in different iterations of that.
Initially, I just remember like standing on like campus and being like, well, here we are.
In March of 2013 is when it really felt like, all right, we're doing this. We're starting a church. This is no longer just a Bible study or a little baby fake church. This is a real church.
And to see people start to respond and start to come and start to not only just come to even Sunday services, but really start to be a part of the community that God was using us to create, that he was bringing people into, that was awesome.
I don't know. It was a city on a hill, right? Like it really was special. Like it's an elevated building. There's steps, and if you looked around at the group of people that we had there, it was so eclectic, which I hope is always the case for Aletheia. But we would have people of every race and every background, and it was beautiful, right? And so I see God showing up in a major way by providing that building for us to the point that we, outgrew it and ended up finding the place on 8th.
I remember Kevin preaching without shoes on many times.
Oh, that was a lot.
Till he was banned from doing that.
Yeah, the elders had a coup.
Mm-hmm.
They won. Mm-hmm. It was a unanimous vote because I abstained.
Very large Redskins jerseys and no shoes and cargo shorts. Those were good days.
Yeah. Again,
come so far.
The proof that this church exists despite us.
God blessed his efforts in a lot of ways, and in a lot of ways, I think Kevin would agree. He and I botched it in some pretty bad ways, but God was still good, and we saw folks coming to know the Lord better.
We were about bringing the gospel to the people of Gainesville. We had been discipled that way, and that was just a huge part of what we were coming to Gainesville to do.
Yeah, God showed up in so many different ways, from just opening hearts and eyes and minds to the gospel.
It was us just inviting coworkers, inviting people, neighbors, people that we met at the gym, just whoever we knew and could meet. Let's build a relationship with them. We have nothing else in common. We have no reason to be stalking you right now, but we want to be friends with you. So it was a lot of work, but it was good, and it paid off. And
in terms of vision or goal, it's funny, there's a very clear DNA in Aletheia, and it's rocking Philippians 2. It's just genuinely loving people.
We created tons of opportunities for the men to get together, while ladies were doing the same thing.
It was just going there and just being the hands and feet of Christ.
Because what we were really trying to focus on there was fostering a sense of community. Because the church is not just a ministry, it's not just an organization, right? But it's a family of believers in a local body. And so we worked very hard to establish that.
A huge challenge early on was having people not burn out. Because you had, 30 people serving and doing the work of more than that, and loading. It was church in a box. We had a box trailer that literally had everything, all of our kids stuff, all of our hospitality. And so I think one of the biggest challenges was having each other care for each other well.
Because when we first get down there, you're running on adrenaline. We're all young, none of us have kids. We're just trying to figure this out. But then things start to catch up with you, and it starts to feel like more work. And about that time is when God would kind of give you a breath of fresh air and say, I've got this.
Following the Lord in such a capacity is tough. It gets tiring. And I think that there was a lot of learning curves to walk through, but regardless of the ups and downs, regardless of the difficulties, to really hold on to the joy of what we were getting to do and getting to partake in.
And that happened so many times throughout the years where we felt like we needed to do something, and God would say, not yet. We feel like we need to expand the children's ministry, not yet. We feel like we need a bigger parking lot, not yet. And God's timing was never wrong.
thank you to all the people over the 10 years that we have existed as a church for your just continued support, for your love, for your service, for your friendship, all of the things that you have, your blood, sweat, and tears that have gone into making our church function and to make much of Jesus in all of those things.
Well said.